morning, everybody, and welcome to Mrs. Cog Hill Farm. I'm Brooke, and I got my trusty sidekick Dee Dee in her little bag here that, well, she loves it. So the other day, Marycarl and I wanted to go into the woods and look for mushrooms because it's the first time it's rained in quite some time here, and we thought it would be a good time to go take a peek and see if we could see any. Y'all hear Jessie? We were looking for chicken of the woods or oyster mushrooms, lion's mane, some that we could determine what they were without a doubt. And I wanted to take Dee Dee with me, but I didn't want her to have to walk the entire way. So this bag we've had for quite some time. It's just been stored away in the closet, and I thought, well, I'll give it a try, see how Dee Dee likes it. The entire hike through the woods, Dee Dee sat just like she is right now and enjoyed herself. But that's not what this video is about. We are going to start off by taking a little walk across our property over to actually the other side where it joins a neighboring property. And I'm going to show y'all, first of all, what we found a couple of weeks ago, and we'll go from there. Of course, I'm not going much of anywhere without my entourage coming with me, and that would consist of Foxy, and there's one of them. Rocky just walked past me, but Bandit's kind of lagging behind. I guess you can see him back there, but they're not going to miss their opportunity to go exploring. Before I get to where I'm going, I wanted to kind of give y'all a general idea of where I am. So behind me is where the goats pasture, and Mildred and Jessie and Peaches are. And then in front of me, this way towards the neighboring property, is a wide open pasture. And you can see that we have the tree line that we partially fenced in, where the goats have done a good job with the vegetation. But for the most part, our property is wide open pastures. Now, you know, I say that loosely because there are fence or tree lines, but they're not necessarily, it's not anything like it was at the old property. If there was a predator bird, you would most likely see it flying, because there's no access to any birds that's not in a wide open area. They don't have the tree cover, which is good and bad, because we had so much shade at the other farm, but yet, you know, everything's so wide open here, which is what we wanted. It's what we desired to have, and it doesn't give birds of prey a good way to hide. So the area where I'm headed is across the property, and it's where we've been working on getting Moody and Mildred's fence ready. So as you get to the edge of our property line, which resides right here where this barbed wire fence is, you can see there's a pine thicket, which does offer a bit of cover. However, we don't have any birds that reside over here. No chickens, no pigeons, none of that. So a few weeks have passed since we were working in this area and found the remains of feathers. We immediately notified Marycarl, and she knew that she had a pigeon that she had not seen. However, she didn't know if he may have just not returned home or if something had happened to him. And here's your proof. So this being the post that we were working on, we obviously walked down the fence row right here to find this pile of feathers. It was much more concentrated in a small area at the time. So from that day forward, she decided that she would no longer let the birds fly until spring. And that being said, the reason is because of hawks and flying predator birds. We are in Alabama, and we do have several species of predatory birds. So the main species that we think of, or I think of here in Alabama, is the red-tailed, which is the largest hawk that we have here. Then you have the red-shouldered and the Cooper's hawk. Those are the three that I think of. But we also have a sharp-shinned hawk, which I don't think of too very often. We have, I'm reading this because Marycarl wrote them down for me. We have a peregrine falcon, which is something that you'll see more so in your bigger cities, American kestrel, a northern harrier, and you know, it happens. It's part of the life cycle. I've come to realize that it happens around the same time every year. Towards the end of October, 1st of November, you'll literally start seeing more hawks on the roadside, perched on the power lines, overlooking fields, looking for a meal. Every time I cut grass during the warmer months, the summer, the spring, the early fall, when I cut, I can see those little field mice running around, and they literally just scatter everywhere. When we first bought this property and I did our first cutting, I was amazed at how many there were. They just literally looked like little bugs hopping everywhere. There were so many field mice. And since we've lived here and the grass has been more maintained, I've seen less and less, but that being said, they're still here. I mean, when I cut, I still see those little mice jumping and running. We have rabbits, of course, and this time of the year, you just don't see that. And the hawks are having a harder time finding a meal. Yesterday, while Jason and I were out planting the garden, I heard the biggest commotion. The minute I heard it, I knew exactly where it was coming from because I could hear birds hitting wires, what it sounded like. So back behind me, you can see the purple pigeon palace. I immediately called Marycarl from where I was and told her to go check on your birds immediately because I knew she could get there faster than where I was. So when Marycarl got there, she figured out real quick that the hawk had been trying to get to her pigeons, which they're all safely locked inside. They're all, none of them have been out. All the commotion was coming from the front area. All the pigeons that are locked up, they of course heard the hawk, they saw the hawk, and they began to fly, and that's what that noise was that I heard. But the hawk did something that we never ever thought could happen. So here I am at the loft, and you can see the trap door there. Well, the trap door's locked from the inside, and that's why you don't see any birds coming out of it. Ordinarily, that trap door would allow the birds to fly out whenever they want to. Of course, they want to right now, and go back in when they want to. It's just a swinging bar type mechanism that is designed for pigeons. So yesterday when I hollered at Marycarl and she came out to check things out, my biggest concern was that one of the birds may have hit their head and caused some trauma from being scared, and not so much the ones that are in this area, but the ones that are on the back side that fly and the wires on top there. I never expected what she found, and that was that the hawk was able to get his talons around one of her pigeons and do enough damage. He wasn't able to pull the bird through, but he did enough damage to cause the bird to lose its life. And I never ever would have thought that a hawk could have done that. That's one reason we put a 1/4-inch hardware cloth over the aviary here, because that's too small for anything to get its talons in to pull through. And plus, this area is fenced in. Well, that doesn't stop aerial predators, but we were most concerned with raccoons, foxes, things like that. We even buried the wire 2 foot under the ground in a perimeter all the way around so nothing could dig under. But you see that bird sitting right there, and I just would have thought that he would have been quicker than the hawk and could have moved out of the way in enough time for that hawk to not get his claws on him. or talons. But that didn't happen. So yesterday was bird loss number 2 for Marycarl on the pigeon end of things. And of course, it was heartbreaking to her, but she's much more mature in that aspect than I am, because it really makes me angry. I mean, I know everything in this environment has a purpose and needs to eat and needs to be fed. But that doesn't take away the fact to me that it took one of her birds away. I can't do anything about that. I can't bring it back. We thought we had everything fixed up in the best way possible, but I learned quickly that that wasn't the case. And I'm going to put a piece of board, a piece of treated plywood over that trapdoor opening so it won't happen again. Marycarl just sees it as the circle of life. She's much more forgiving than I am. To say that she was sad, yes, she was, but she's just so quick to forgive because she realizes it's just the way how the world works. And sometimes we can't control that, but we're going to do better. We're going to do our best to try to prevent that from happening again. And I do think that one of the main reasons that we don't have any attacks such as that on our chickens is Cheese. Y'all know that we have Cheese, who is a guard goose, who's a lone goose bonded with the chickens. They are his flock. He looks after them, and hawks see him as a deterrent. They don't want to have to contend with anything to get a free meal. So the pigeon coming through the trapdoor was a much easier meal than having to go fight a big white goose. I'm about to get me a board and get this covered up. Well, I hate to block their view because they obviously enjoy sitting up on the little ledge and looking around outside, but I think it's for the best. And we're gonna keep this on there until probably the end of February, 1st of March. Just kind of play it by ear. And I wonder if hawks can read. I should have wrote this before I put it up. No hawks allowed. Maybe that'll do it. Until next spring, these birds will be confined. Death's a part of farming. I don't like to talk about it, but it is what it is, and just do what you can to protect your flock. So until then, y'all be good.